2, 1.
Welcome to Antimatters. Hello everyone. Today we have part 4 of the antcave tour. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one, so I've gone all out for the Tetramorium Bicarinatum. This is by far the hardest video I've ever had to put together. Not just editing, but they have not stopped their unending march of progress. Everything has changed since they last made an appearance. So let's backtrack 3 months. The Tetras lived peacefully in their multiple sprawling cities. Gen 2 City, the capital, supported an uncountable amount of workers. Gen 3 towered above them, and the Matrix offered extremely good prices on one-way tickets all around the world. Their society basically reached the zenith of the good life. At that moment, they awoke. Both Gen 2 and 3 cities creaked under the growing rage inside the ants. They saw the truth, that they were essentially being farmed. The monster that sucks from the sky was blatantly to blame. They declared and learned all about war for the first time, and knew it was wrong. It only took one ant to lead the way to peace, and they were soon all flooding down it. Personally, I sided with the ants against the sky monster. Their war was a dirty bit of business. They had nukes and everything. After a lot of negotiations, it was decided compensation was due. They had the Sky Monster, provide the ants a free and open land to be theirs forever. I was then commissioned to build the new continent. Who'd have thought? While waiting, the ants turned their weapons of war into tools of peace. Eventually, the new land was complete, and the doors opened. It was a tropical paradise. 28 Celsius on the bedrock, enough room for 1 million ants. Outside, it was a nice 21 Celsius minimum on a bad day, with a cool breeze. Unlimited refills on the cocktails. Yes, bottomless wells of the good stuff. Purple rain, blue lagoon, even straight absinthe. Heaven. I introduce you all, though, to the city that doesn't have a name yet. Got any ideas for a name? Stick them down below in the comments. I was thinking maybe Zion, but if anyone's got a good catchy name, let me know. As soon as I let them get access to the new nest, they all poured in. Mostly because it was warmer than the other cities, I presume. It was a huge relief when they moved though, because until then I didn't really have a clue if they'd actually like the nest. I hadn't tried a small version or anything with them. I just knew that they seemed, well, as I like to call them in some older episodes, to be not fussy ants. So, yeah, I kind of had an idea that it might work, but I honestly had no proper solid foundation for that. You? Anyway, 99% of them relocated, leaving 2 cities worth of empty nests to clean up. It's a bit annoying, but another colony will use them one day. The new city has everything all in one area though, except for a trash out world, which I've still got plumbed onto the side of the tank. Let's drop it down low and have a look at the underground caverns first. I made them, if you're wondering, by drilling holes and sawing between the drilled holes. You may notice it has multiple styles of carving as well. I wanted to get as much variety as possible into the nest to see if it mattered to the ants. It didn't, by the way. Still, I really enjoyed putting all of the little caverns together in all the different styles. The biggest aim that I thought about when I was making it was to get as much light into all of the caverns as possible. So I added skylights and all sorts. I'll show off some of the other little bits of lighting nearer the end of the video. There's at least 30 chambers though in the below ground area, and since being introduced they've gone from filling 2/5 of the area to about 4/5 now, and the density of ants and brood is just getting higher and higher too. It's well good if you ask me. When the workers line the wall to the point that the wall turns black, I just love it, and they're so squashed in, which I presume they enjoy. They almost flow in the caves. Let's have a look at the front side first. So far, most of them have chosen to live on the left side of the nest. I think that's because the heat mat is more under this end of the nest, whereas the left side, it's slightly off the heat mat, which I'm not too bothered about, to be fair, because if the heat mat ever gets too hot, they have a nice cooler place that they can evacuate to, and it creates a nice gradient. On the top side of the nest as well, they also have their automatic humidity controllers. They're basically acrylic sheets, and when it's humid in the nest, they curl up and let more air in, and when it dries out in the nest, they flatten out and seal it up nicely. Seems to work really well though for a simple little piece of acrylic. So let's have a nose around. We'll start on the left side of the front. As you can see, it's proper heaving though in the chambers. They are packing them out, a lot of them from the floor to the ceiling pretty much. It's just pure ants. For me, I absolutely adore it though, because it's so easy to just flip your phone out with the macro lens on, and it's like you can see everything then, and it's fabulous. I definitely would have them over a TV, 100%. They're always up to something. But as you can see though, the chambers, they are just packed. I'm not sure how many ants in total there are now, but since letting them move in, they really have exploded in numbers. Like, at least double. I think maybe even 4 times as big as when they moved in now. But it's been about a month and a half, maybe 2 months, so they've had time to double at least twice. It's been quite a long time since I've actually got to witness them exploding in growth, to be honest. Recently, I've just been taking off so many ants that they were still growing in numbers, but siphoning off the ants for the shop. It doesn't really impact their total population, but it semi-slows it down a tiny bit. But I haven't actually taken any tubes off the colony for maybe a month or 2 now, and my god, they do know how to grow, and maybe taking all the tubes was actually keeping the population down quite well. To back up my theory that their numbers have also heavily increased, I have noticed their food intake is definitely heavily increased, so I think it's got to mean something, and I'm pretty sure that means that numbers have never been higher. Sometimes though, they line a chamber so much that you can't see the floor. Like, it's either ants or it's brood, and there's just a crazy amount of brood as well at the minute. But keep an eye out through the video and see if you can spot any eggs. At the moment, the eggs are a little bit of a limited edition thing, it seems. I know somewhere, tucked away, there must be millions of eggs, because there's millions of larvae coming through the system, and thousands of pupae as well popping out the end every day. So there's got to be eggs somewhere, and they can't be eating all this protein and not making any eggs. If you notice as well though, there aren't a super crazy amount of queens. I have a theory about all of this though. Underneath the nest there is also a massive hidden chamber, and you can only see it by sliding the tank out and looking at the glass underneath, which I haven't actually done yet. I've had a tiny little peek and saw a few in a corner though, but I haven't had a good look. But I do believe that the majority of the queens and all of the eggs, things like that, they're all sitting underneath the nest between the glass and the bottom of the blocks. Along the front, which has been a surprise success, there were a few cracks as well between the bricks. Well, not really cracks, but when you join them up, there was going to be gaps, because, well, nothing is ever perfect. But these gaps have been fully utilised now by the ants, and they seem to friggin' love them. They pack them right out. I think as well there might be a lot of the brood stashed away down these little gaps though too. You see a lot of elates for sure. I know in the very bottom secret chamber as well, that's going to be the warmest place, so whatever ants like it the warmest, I think they're probably going to be down there. As I said earlier in the video, one of my main aims was to make sure that the whole nest was all light and easy to look at, to be fair. And I think along the front, it has worked out quite good, to be honest. The skylights let loads of light and fresh air in, and it seems to be keeping it all really nice inside. I'm super happy though with how it's all come out, because, well, when you're working with concealed chambers behind glass, you never know when they're going to kind of make the glass all minging and you'll never be able to see in again, but it's working out really good. If it does get a little bit dirty as well, I find that if I let them dry out just a little bit, they'll take all of the rubbish and move it upwards back into the outworld. Any of the debris that you can see around the nest has basically come out of the secret chamber underneath, and they're slowly pulling it all upwards and taking it to the surface to dispose of it. They're not really the biggest fan of having loose substrate in their nest, to be fair, and I haven't seen them kind of layering it down on the floor or anything like that so far. Time to have a look at the side, I think. I don't really get to see this view too much as it's tucked away in a corner. Just like the front, the ants have fully utilised the little cracks and joints that I left, and have made them part of their main home, I think, now. The chambers though are so packed, and I just love looking in, because what's not to enjoy? It's pretty much the same story though as the front view. Ants and brood piled up to the ceiling and in just uncountable volume. Some of the chambers round the back as well, they're a little bit cloudy. I think that's because when I first made the tank, I put a little bit of sand in, and in some areas that got wet, they decided, you know what we'll do, we'll cover the wetness in sand and it will stop it becoming a danger. So that's exactly what they do. They're clever little girls. There seems to be a couple more queens though round the back side of the tank as well. One thing that over the time I've had these ants certainly hasn't changed is they're just so cute as well. They're dinky little girls, but they are 100% built solid, and they're basically little armoured tanks. Definitely one of my top 10 favourite looking ants though as well. Overall, I actually think the side chambers have the best view out of the whole nest. I think that's because a lot of light can get in through the front side though, so it really lights it up beautifully inside, and you can see everything. If they ever decide to really muddy up the glass as well, I'm thinking of getting a little magnetic ball or something like that and covering it in felt, and I can use that with a magnet on the outside to wipe the glass clean, I hope. I think it's about time though that we headed round the back of the tank. This was my first time actually getting a good look at the back side of the tank since I moved them in, and I was quite impressed. The far right, which was also empty the other side, was clear, but a lot of the chambers, although they've been stacked up with sand to absorb some of the moisture that they had in the beginning, they seem to be heaving. I can only see through the little bit at the bottom where I'm guessing all the ants and larvae have kind of made a little gap in the glass. Well, not the glass, but the sand, so you can see in, but it just looks like there's millions upon millions of larvae here as well. Down the glass you can just see larvae and more larvae, and then even more larvae. I think a lot of them as well seem to be elate larvae, which means that we got a lot of winged queens and princes, well, princesses and princes coming soon. They also use the backside of the nest as, I think, their main access to the underside of the secret chamber. I see thousands streaming up and down out of the little gaps, though all the time. It's definitely one of my favourite things about this colony, because with such massive numbers it means that these motorways run busy 24 hours a day, and they are just packed with little workers and new queens heading out to gather some food and things like that for the brood. all sorts of stuff. They're constantly busy though, streaming in and out of the nest. I guess it takes quite a lot of effort, to be fair, to raise this many babies. Some of the chambers as well look really dirty, but in essence they're not really, to be honest. Like this one, when I get a chance I can pop the bit of acrylic off the front and clean that sand off of it, and it'll be 100% transparent again. I think that's enough admiring though, all of the brood and the workers. It's time to head out to the outworld and get a little bit of fresh air. So topside, it's heaving as well, would you believe? I decided to give their new outworld though a lot of little toys. They've got a couple of my pillars for feeding and water. I really do enjoy watching them streaming up and down the pillars though. When there's no food in the outworld, it's quite busy, but when there's food in the outworld, oh my god, they know how to kick off. They'll be going up the walls and streaming around the floor, and it really doesn't take long for news to get back to the nest about food and the likes. Once one of them's got back into the nest, you can watch them running around telling everybody else that there's protein or there's sugar in the outworld, and before long thousands of them are streaming out, heading out to get themselves a belly full of mealworm normally. Feeding time with these girls has honestly got a little bit crazy, to be honest. Since moving into here and turning up the speed basically, I've been feeding them around 30 superworms a day. It's getting quite expensive, to be honest, because I'm spending over about £10 a week just on mealworms to feed these girls. It is getting a little bit annoying because they need to do some work and pay their rent, to be fair, but when they're not eating the protein though, they've also got ample sugar water, and I also give them jelly cups. Mostly because it lasts a long time for a sugar source. The other day though, I decided, I wonder which sugar snaps from antcave these girls like the most. Initially, I was 100% thinking banana is definitely their favourite, and it's definitely going to be the banana that goes first, because I always give them banana and they always guzzle it. Problem is though, I think they got a little bit bored of the banana flavour. Well, I totally did not see it coming. I know their blue slushy, they absolutely love that one too, and I was expecting that or banana to be the winner. In a big surprise to me, it turned out that their favourite sugar snaps at the moment is the watermelon sugar snaps. I don't really give them too much of this flavour, however I think I'm going to start to feed them a little bit more of it, because they obviously prefer it because they completely down the whole drink. Having a colony that is eating so much food though has raised a few problems, and I've had to tackle them head on. So now, a lot of their waste I tip into a small little toxic waste barrel. With such a boom in society as well, you might be wondering, how do they entertain themselves? Well, what I like to think is they have massive parties. They gorge themselves on fermented sugar water, and then get together and shake the chambers. Because ants hear through vibrations in their feet, shaking the chambers is a great form of a loudspeaker for them. They're big fans of the bass as well. To help them out in the party department, I decided to give them a hand, and I got them a mini nightclub set up. They've got lights, they haven't got any sound because they don't need it, but it's pretty banging inside of the tank. Let's have a look. This is what I've come to call their nuclear fusion reactor, and it basically powers the whole party system of the tank. When it's warming up, it doesn't look too special. A few little specky lights in the fibre optics. However, once this big girl gets properly ignited and the fusion core is going at 100%, the whole thing goes up like a Christmas tree. It's got flashing lights, and if you're not into the strobe lights, you can turn it on to just normal glowing lights. All sorts of things. In the afternoon, I really do like to turn off the lights in the room, and I'll just turn on the lights in the tank, and it's really nice and relaxing before bed. I think it's great though, and it's definitely one of the things that I think more ant nests should have in them is definitely fibre optics, because they're so versatile. They don't get hot, and they're pretty much just plastic, so they're very inert, and it can't really cause any problems for the ants. So they're spot on, to be honest. If you're having ideas as well now of maybe putting some fibre optics into your tank, I definitely recommend googling side glow fibre optics, because those are the ones you want. As well, the larger diameter you can get, the more light that it's going to put off. The thinner 1.5mm and around that size fibre optics, they light up alright, however they just can't output the same as a big 4mm cable like I'm using in this nest. When I first thought of dabbling with fibre optics, I thought, oh, I think it'll work a little bit, but I really wasn't expecting the aesthetics and or just everything about how they worked, and it's come out, I feel, really nicely. When I was making this nest too, I didn't really just want to make the same old like AAC style nest that everyone's already made 100 times too. And the fibre optics really allowed me to kind of push it to the next level, I think. So, I think that's enough waffling for today, to be honest. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's really long, so if you stayed until the end, thanks very much for watching the complete thing. If only one person watches the whole thing, it'll be worth it. And if that person is you, thanks so much. Also, this episode was meant to include the Carabera diversa and the Mesobarbarus, however, they got pushed off to the side. Because of this, they will be getting their own Antcave tour episode, and it's going to be a 5-parter now, at least. I'm pretty sure though that I can fit the Mesobarbarus and the Carabera diversa into one video for the next time, so that should be the last one. But it's March now, and it's taken me nearly 3 months to do my start of the year Antcave tour. Until next time though, thanks for watching, have a fabulous week, may your ants live long and prosper, and bye!
I shut that bad bitch down.